All right, what is up, YouTube? M40 here. We are back with another interesting deck profile. This time getting 10th place at the Mexico Regional, actually. And why are we looking at all of these ABC deck lists? Well, first off, the format hasn't really been that interesting as of late. And ABC is kind of like the one deck that I've seen budget players wanting to come back to the game and kind of gear up and playtest. Well, evidently, hand traps kind of make decks expensive, so it's not so much budget anymore. But for those of you that are looking to ABC, it's kind of like, oh, hey, maybe I can play this and have a little bit of success with it. Well, we've been seeing a lot of people. We saw the New Zealand list earlier in the week, and now we have this beauty showing up and actually showing that, well, hey, maybe ABCs aren't just so beaten down at this stage that they can't really, play. Now, this deck is more geared towards going second. You should be able to see that with Evenly Matched being in here, and then you've got things like Triple Ash Blossom and literally maxed out hand traps. We're on what, 10, 12 hand traps in the main deck? Like, your average person isn't going to be able to handle this situation in a way that you think that they would. Now, literally looking at this deck, it is almost just a bunch of hand traps and an engine splash into a deck. And it kind of is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you guys, but it's kind of amazing when you look at decks like this in terms of development and progress with the metagame, that you definitely see just the pure power of hand traps. Now, most of the time in a perfect world, if you're going second with this and you're having mild success after you evenly match, you literally just establish a Dragon Buster and go. And after your opponent's committed all of those resources to a board, they're not going to have really much recovery. I mean, what decks in the metagame really do? I guess Altergeist can recover a little bit, but putting that Dragon Buster on the field that can split apart, it's almost like just disgusting comebacks. Plus, I mean, you have a relatively interesting engine already built in. Side deck goes and match. Another, one of those fuck yous to the current metagame. All built in to fantastic floodgates. Did I paint a beautiful picture for you? So, this, without further ado, is this was Luis Fernando Fagoria. His 10th place deck profile coming out of Mexico, going 7-1-1, 300 plus players in attendance for that. So if you want to discount the results, I mean, there were 300 people present in the room. You do whatever you want, but I mean, I think that's almost worth looking at. So we have triple copies of A Assault Core once again, the very beautiful. This card was restricted for format. We free it up. Guess what? ABC's back at it again with those stupid shenanigans. But we're maxing out on triple copies of each of the pieces to kind of make sure that no matter what is going on, we're always going to be able to have access to those key pieces. Triple copies of Ash Blossom's Forehead. Once again, we're going second hand trap base deck, so whatever our opponent is trying to throw at us, we're going to just not deal with it today. Works for me. Triple copies of B Buster Dragon. I still think that this is literally the best one in the deck, for the most part. Now, something else I pointed out, we've seen other people doing really cute things, playing 2 copies of this. In a going second deck where, you want your pieces and things like that, no, you gotta max out on these. As much as I know people aren't going to like hearing that logic, Triple C is not necessarily a bad thing, so maybe I've just seen too many really weird out-ratioed lists from 2 formats ago, but strange time out here. We are packing 2 copies of Ghost Bell. Honestly, the 2-2 ratio between 2 Bell, 2 Ogre isn't necessarily all that terrible. I do like what they're getting at. I would not max out on either of these. And if you want to get spicy, I mean, you could play Droll in the main, but Droll's value is kind of gone down in terms of being a card that I want to access in my main deck. So I will say that for the most part, I wouldn't go too crazy on that. Now, outside of, Bell and Ogre, we are maxing out on Triple Gamma, 1 Driver, and I'm kind of starting to enjoy seeing this card show up more in the main, as opposed to the side. It literally has been cut to the side for pretty much a whole format for a lot of players so far, but seeing that this is in a format where hand traps can literally just stop you, 1 hand trap and you can just have a bad time, I do think having access to this guy, especially like being able to make the Omega or like a Link 2 follow-up off of just the Gamma, like, it's so devastating to the opponent trying to watch them recover off of a resolved Gamma driver, you know, negated something. And like, you can say it's win more, but like, having this step into another piece of your combo is definitely worth exploring, at least for options like a deck like this. Now, we are playing triple copies of Mind Control, and as I've said with a lot of these current decks in this format, like, they put up a piece of their combo that you can target, you just move it out of the way. Your opponent, Shizuku, Kagari, Hyatt, literally anything Sky Striker related that will be a problem to you, you just move it on over to your field, and your opponent can't do anything about it. You're just free to link out with it, or literally anything else that you could potentially need to do. It's free. Now, triple copies of Pot of Desires. Now, to be honest with you, 3 of this, somebody is going to be like, oh my god, why is he doing this? Maximized resource value. I need to make sure that I'm drawing to my pieces, to my combo pieces. Did I get to a hand trap? I mean, you're maxed out on hand traps. You're like on 12 of these guys. So like, I wouldn't feel that bad about banishing them. Just maintain and make sure that like, when you're doing pieces and things like that, like, you don't banish something that you don't want to see. Now, we're playing 2 copies of Scapegoat. I also like this. Honestly, we've seen Scapegoat more or less in a deck like this, but I mean, in a situation where like you do a piece like set to kind of do things, like, this will at least make sure that like when the next turn comes back, like, A, you have defense, I guess, and I mean, B, like, you can link out with them, so feel free to do that. And then, of course, 2 copies of Terraforming to get to our Broken Field spell. Now, we are playing triple copies of Union Hanger. You're crazy if you're playing any less than this, especially in an ABC deck. Can call it what it is. 1 copy of Upstart Goblin, just to further make sure that we can get into the deck. Triple copies of Evenly Matched. Now, as a going second deck, things that our opponent can do to us going first can be devastating, but with our amount of hand traps and things like that, I don't see any issue as to why we can't be supporting this, especially on a number this high. 2 copies of Impermanence. I know some people can be like, well, where's the third? I literally think logically that he was going for 2 copies of this because, once again, like, you can fit in the skill drain, and like, overall, like, you're still supporting what the deck wants to do. Now, overall, the main deck is very standard for what I would expect for this. I can only imagine what some of the potential bricks can look like from this, but I mean, as long as you always have a piece and like Union Hanger, like, you should be able to combo out on your opponent, not really have to worry about anything that they can do, right? Now, the extra deck down here is more or less spicy tech choices between the Scapegoat and other things, like, also like Clara and Rushka over here. When you play against Altergeist, like, they can kind of just shut you out of the game. I mean, playing ABC against Altergeist doesn't necessarily seem like something that I want to do, but oof. So we have 1 copy of Link Karibo, 1 copy of Link Spider, 1 copy of Landphonicus. Once again, generic Link 2 that you can just step through and do whatever you want with is very good. 1 copy of Unicorn to answer any sort of back row issue or monster issue. 1 copy of Phoenix, our generic back row outer. We have 1 copy of Mermaid, step into it as you see fit. 1 copy of Cerberus for main deck monster zone issues. Hip Hoshigen, light and light. That's all I need to know. Enjoy your OTKs. We have 1 copy of Claire and Rushka, as I already explained. 1 copy of Borosword Dragon for OTKs. Borolo Dragon to steal pesky problems. 1 copy of Omega, and then triple copies of Dragon Buster, being the heart and soul of our deck. Now, the side deck here, triple copies of Droll and Lockbird. Once again, like, it's depends on what you're playing against. This card is really good, but at times this card is also really bad. We have 2 copies of Mr. Turtle. Feel free to give this to your opponent and smile. 3rd copy of Ghost Spell for any situation that you might need to see fit. 2 copies of Book of Eclipse. Thunder Dragons are very annoying no matter what deck you're piloting, so feel free to just drop these in. Triple copies of Twin Twisters. I mean, hey, discard your Peacemaker Dragon Buster is really cute. Triple copies of Ghost and Match. Everybody is same attribute. Continue along with your day. And then good old Imperial Order, because we love smiling at our opponent. So guys, this is a little bit more love for ABC. Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think about this deck. Like I said, this deck did relatively well in Mexico, and I'm definitely happy to see that we're seeing more success with this deck. Alright guys, I'm out. Peace. The ride never, well, truly ends. Thank you, patrons. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd be wearing in these videos. I might be a truffle shuffle incident all over again. Guys, please also check out Vanquil40 for some awesome Vanguard content. Some other interesting stuff you might find up here on the left or in the description as well. Thanks for watching.